Alright, luminaries, what is up? We're going to be doing the video, the drawing as I promised. This I hope will help you guys see it in a more visual way. I'm a way more visual learner than just listening. So getting both aspects is a really good way for me to not only convey it to you, but for me to learn for myself. So this is a great model. Let's see. So we have right here the source of all of life, the source consciousness. And source consciousness is the source of everything spiritual and eternal, and material and temporary. It is where consciousness wells up and out of and permeates all of existence. Because you have to say, okay, there is this living entity, what's its source? Here's its mother and father. Okay, here's like a human being. So then what's the source of human beings? Where did they come from? Well, Mother Earth is the mother, and the supreme Lord, or the supreme being, is the father. Souls being kind of inseminating Mother Nature and growing into forms. And so all of these different rays are, at the end of each ray is a different living entity, and there's innumerable living entities. So, here you could have a dandelion, and here you could have a whale and a cow, and your Aunt Sue, and your pet Cletus, and your favorite herb right there, or a rose bush right over there. And so let's say this is you. So let's break down the human organism. So everything is emanating off of source consciousness. And each one of them has a link. They're simultaneously one and different from the source. This is called Achinta Beta Beta Tattva. Achinta Beta Beta Tattva is Vedic philosophy that's basically, there's monism and dualism. Monism is that there's one God. Dualism is that we're separate, and Achinta Beta Beta Tattva is those two combined. We're both simultaneously one with this. We have sameness in quality as the supreme being, and difference in quantity. Okay, they're the same but different. And so our soul is right here at the very end of this, and as it enters the material covering, as it enters the material cloud, it starts to take on, or it gets enveloped by these different bodies. And so we have, the soul is sound and light. So we have right here sound and light. It's actually, all of this is sound and light, okay? But as the quality of soul is that it's oscillating at such a high speed that it's perceived as stillness. And as it enters into the material world, the first material covering in the material world slows this energy down, and it starts to oscillate with duality. You start to perceive a positive and negative effect. So this is right here is the beginning of the perception of duality. So we have duality or polarity. Okay, let's see how this is looking. Can you see that? Cool. So duality, polarity, and it's also the beginning of the perceived separation of source. It's like the soul is entering in, and it goes behind a cloud. And when it looks back, it's trying to look through the cloud, but it can't see its source. It can't see where it came from, and it becomes confused. So it's the beginning of ego, bewilderment, confusion, misconception, misunderstanding. And so on the negative side of the mental body, on the negative side, we have all of those things: bewilderment, confusion. But we can boil it down into saying that it is conditioned mental patterns or expressions. And on the positive side of the mental body, it is oscillating as close of a frequency as it can to the soul, and it's able to perceive. We have open-mindedness and understanding and clarity, and qualities of sattvic quality of unconditioned mental expression. And this is closely linked to the astral body. The astral body is the next one that manifests. Linked to them, we have, kindness, joy, tranquility, unconditional love. So as this frequency of the mental body, which is the most subtle aspect of material manifestation, which again is like what the Kybalion says, the universe is mental, or everything is mind, the universe is mental. So this is literally simultaneously an expression of the entire material universe. We have this prolate spheroid here. It is simultaneously an expression of the whole material universe, and all of these souls are either outside of it, eternally liberated, or inside of it, going through the birth and death cycle of samskara, the birth, death, birth, death, birth, death, but always living. Life is eternal. Birth is temporary. Death is temporary. So eternal life, it comes in and it is just going through this cycle of karma. And karma is generated when we are attached to these things and fall into the negative category. And it's not until we start living a more conscious and natural lifestyle can we start to increase our frequencies. Frater Albertus, the well-known alchemist, has stated that alchemy is all about the raising of vibrations, the raising of consciousness. And so alchemy, spirituality, life in general is meant to be able to oscillate at the frequency of the soul, such a high frequency that it's still, so stillness of mind, stillness of emotions, stillness, tranquility, peace. And you can perceive the waves of emotions and experiences as they come to you in the present moment, but you remain still, you don't remain disturbed. It's called equiposition, being equipoised in reality. So as the frequencies of the mental body begin to get closer to manifestation, closer to materiality, the frequencies slow down. And at some point there's a cymatic shift that occurs that creates a condensed version of this material body. So the mental body is a material body. It's just the most subtle. And as it's squeezed and compressed, it creates another body, another covering of sound and light. And it's called so this is the mental body. This one right here is the astral body. So I don't know where to put it. Astral. So the astral body is also made of sound and light. All of these are made of sound and light. I mean, matter, form is light frozen in time, and then geometry is sound frozen in time. And, of course, sound is light we can't see, and light is sound we can't hear. And there's this whole spectrum of the frequencies of the material world that we are incapable of, interpreting and seeing and feeling, but there is a grand amount that we can. And this is because of our subtle nature and our connection to all of creation. So as this material body gets condensed down into the astral body, we have on the negative side, we have conditioned emotional expressions. Conditioned emotional expression. So, and then of course, unconditioned emotional expression. Unconditioned, conditioned. So, of course, on the negative side, we have conditioned mental patterns. We see this in terms of being a therapist or someone who practices natural therapy or natural remedies. We understand when a person is traumatized, shock, physical, mental, or emotional trauma, pain, discomfort, dysfunction. It all stems from this. What it all does is the mental body is whole, the astral body is whole as it comes in. But when it's traumatized, it becomes fragmented. It breaks and shatters like glass. And the light and sound starts bouncing around in specific patterns, in a conditioned way. And it's unable to emit its light and sound perfectly out of the soul and be uninhibited anywhere as it emanates out. So when it can do that, you'd experience unconditioned emotional expression. The emotions as they come out of the soul would just be able to express themselves out. The thoughts would be able to express themselves out. And it would be resonating, of course, with source consciousness. There would be when someone self-actualizes or self-realizes, they realize who it is that they are. They see through all of the illusion and can see with clarity the source of where they came from, the form and formlessness of that supreme entity. So they realize themselves as an individual entity having an eternal relationship with the supreme entity. And so as these emotions become, or this astral body gets condensed, it forms what's called the etheric body. And the etheric body, sorry, we're a little bit cattywampus here. Draw all of them. So, it's technically, they're like glass bowls set on top of each other. So the pranic body is basically channels or pathways for the quality of thoughts. Oh, okay. Okay. So the pranic body is channels, a body of channels for the quality of thoughts and emotions to pass through. So we can draw it again as, like the meridians of the body, the long line currents of the body. They're all simply etheric pathways. All of the channels, the marma channels, they're mapped out in different therapies, shiatsu. These channels are the qualities of the light and sound that's expressed from our mental body, whether they're positive or negative, and our emotional body, our astral light body, whether they're positive or negative, transmits a positive or negative flow of energy through the pranic body, which of course is coursing through the physical body. So this right here, pranic, also known as the etheric. This one is also known as the emotional body. So then, real quick, I'll go back to it, but the etheric body condenses down and creates the physical body. Physical body. So, on the negative side of our pranic body, we have blockage. Blockage. And then on the positive side of our pranic body, we have energetic flow. So energetic blockage, energetic flow. And you can see, when the mental body becomes traumatized, or mental, emotional body, both of these are referred to as our psychology, which is also known as our subtle body. I'm getting all over the place here, but these two bodies, the mental and astral body, is our psychology. When I mention our psychology, I'm referring to these two bodies. And when I'm referring to the subtle body, it is also these two bodies. Now, these two bodies, the physical body and the pranic body, are our corporeal body, or our physical body, or our gross, dense body, right? It's the corporeal, we have the gross body, the subtle and gross body, right? Or physical body. And, the pranic body is essentially the bridge between the physical body and the subtle body. It's the pathways that is being read as bio-electromagnetic feedback, which we'll actually get into as we go on. But now we also have, in the material world, we have suns and planets and moons and, galaxies and quasars and black holes. And all of these things are, of course, not black holes, but white holes maybe, but they're all emanating off sound and light. Sound and light. The soul's qualities are sound and light. Wherever there's sound and light, there's life, because it's the source of everything is life. This is also known as life. And as it enters into this dead lump of material matter, life, like it's full of these particles of souls. All of these souls germinate everywhere and start to grow into plant life and insect life and animal life and human life, and planets are formed, and all of it is just this harmonious expression of sound and light through geometry and form and this is actually another name for the mental body, is the causal geometric pattern field. Causal geometric pattern field. Because as the perfect qualities of the soul enter into the mental body of the universe, that sound and light begins to make near perfect forms, that cast shadows in the mental body of the soul's expression of the perfect forms, and through geometry, and it's what creates the flower of life and sacred geometry, all the platonic solids, and that tree of life that can create all of the sacred geometric patterns are all linked to different tones and different colors and different varying things, going down to resonating actually to different parts of the body. And I'll get into that later. I actually have a post on YouTube that I can link you to go watch that. But so the physical body the soul is enveloped by a physical body, pranic body, astral body, and mental body, and it's what animates, it gives life. It's what animates all of these bodies. And we can now look into the physical body and see, okay, let's draw a diagram here. This is another way of looking at it. I'm not quite in my drawing game today, guys, so give me a break here. We'll see what comes out. Body. Okay, so not to waste our time here, we have a person, and they have this field, this bio-electromagnetic field all around them. It's again another prolate spheroid. It's this kind of like egg shape energy field. And of course, one is also emanating off of the heart. We have the third eye here called the Ajna chakra. With its field, it has this immense field emanating from the brain. And we have the throat chakra here that communicates the heart and the mind together. The heart chakra is about here, it's between the nipples and a man. It has another great field around it, the part of the dantians. We have another dantian here in the pelvic bowl. But so in the belly button here, we have the fire chakra. Then we have in the pelvic bowl the water chakra, and then just below the coccyx, we have the earth chakra. And here, source consciousness, the Ajna chakra is what's connecting us, what connects us to source. The soul resides in the heart. And whether or not it's looking this way towards the source of all of life, or this way down into materiality, looking at the physical, determines whether or not it is on the right path. So the mental body here is the same as this. The astral body here is, the mental body is related to the air element, and I'll put the air element symbol here. Here's the umbilical cord, the umbilicus. This is where the fire chakra is, and it is connected to the astral body. And so that is fire. Then we have in our hips, in the pelvic bowl, we have our sacral chakra, which, funny enough, the minor chakras in our hands are water chakras. So that is connected to the pranic body right there. That is water. And then the physical body is connected right here through the sacral chakra, the root chakra as earth. So we have air, fire, water, earth. And we have this bioelectromagnetic field emanating around us. And, this chakra helps us connect to source consciousness. And of course, actually, it's mainly our heart. If our heart is directed towards spiritual desires, spiritual life, connecting to the self, which is the soul, and then that supreme entity that is the source of all of creation, is our spiritual life. And our throat chakra, based on where we are, is the ability to communicate our realizations, the ability to communicate Now, whether or not it's communicating material information or spiritual realization is again up to the heart. And what's interesting is the earth element is solid and physical, just like our physical body. The water element is very fluid and moving, just like the pranic body, which is all about flow and movement of energy. The fire element is related to the astral body, and the astral body is our light body. And, air is always connected to thinking and philosophy and speculating, and, that's what's surrounding the most subtle aspect of this material world and surrounding the heart, and the soul. So all of these generate qualities. The earth generates the quality of elimination. So the quality of elimination permeates through all of our cells and all of our organs. And it's just a basic function of the earth element to communicate elimination. The cell's ability to eliminate, our mind's ability to eliminate bad ideas, our intuition, the ability to eliminate bad choices. It rules our bowels and the ability to eliminate stool from the system, eliminate toxins. The cell's ability to eliminate waste. So then the water element is the quality of generation. And it rules our generative organs, but it also gives our whole being the quality of being able to generate and regenerate. So generate new ideas, generate emotions, generate cells. It also produces the cells that helps generate new life. So now the fire element gives off the quality of digestion. And this is the ability to digest our thoughts, digest our emotions, digest traumas, digest life experiences, as well as all the cells' ability to digest, and eliminate and generate. And then the air element is the quality of circulation. So we have the ability to circulate oxygen, the ability to circulate nutrients, the ability to circulate toxins from place to place to help it get to a channel of elimination, right? So if toxins are stuck somewhere, if there isn't the quality of circulation to help get them moving to find a channel of elimination through an earth channel, that would be bad. It would get stuck and create a disease tissue state. So now the quality of ether right here, the throat chakra, is the quality of communication. And the quality of communication throughout all of the cells, the nervous system uses specific cells to send electrical signals to communicate through to the whole body. It rules the nervous system, the ether element does. This is also, ruled by Mercury in astrology. The ability to communicate. The nervous system is communicating to all of the cells, all of the organs, all of the glands, all of the organ tissues. And it actually physically rules our ability to hear, out of our ears, and then communicate or vibrate that what is within us outwards. So the ability to have a conversation with another living entity. So all of this is projecting into the third eye, and whether or not is superimposing over reality, creating an illusory reality that we're going through conditioned mind patterns, conditioned emotional patterns, energetic blockages in these qualities as they're communicating to the Ajna chakra, making one feel detached from their source, their soul, and the supreme, the creator, the great spirit. So now, connecting this to the next model, so this is the same model as this. We have our positive and our negative, and these positive and negative energies are communicated through the caduceus. Okay, so the caduceus is a very real thing. It's not just a symbol or an allegory. It is a factual system in the body that is palpable via the hands. I work on the caduceus all the time in my clients and find blockages within them. So this bioelectromagnetic field, as it's coming down, there's the core. You know, in core synchronism, we have this life current that runs from our head at bregma, if this is the skull, this is the front. Our nose and our ears are here. We have this frontal lobe, and then we have these parietals right here. The parietal lobes and the frontal lobe. This right here is bregma. It's where the core enters into the body, and goes in a clockwise direction. Which means life is entering into the body and being maintained in the body. When it starts to rotate counterclockwise is when the life force starts to leave the body and degeneration and death occurs. So life is regeneration and vitality and cognition and the ability to function, and then degeneration and fatal termination is when this temporary suit that the soul is inhabiting reaches its end, and it either goes back to its source, or it enters into the next body based on its karmic load. So now, looking at the health of an individual, so yeah, these caduceus, the Ida and Pingala, and the Sushumna line are communicating soul, making sure that the cerebrospinal fluid is flowing. Also, the caduceus is flowing with the cerebrospinal fluid, and the core is flowing with the cerebrospinal fluid. And based on our trauma, our shock, dysfunction, trauma, pain, our fragmented mental, emotional, and energetic patterns, as well as our damaged physical cells and organs and tissues, determine how vital and alive and our organism is, how vital and alive our separate organs are inside of us, and how we function as a whole. And so there's one fluid that touches all of these systems at the same time, and it's called our interstitial fluid. So interstitial fluid, also known as the interstitial matrix, and I like that word. So interstitial matrix. A matrix is a thing that grows things inside of it, like ore. Ore or crystals can be connected to their matrix. So this is also known as biological terrain. They're synonymous. Bioterrain. So our biological terrain, also known as our interstitial matrix, is this fluid inside of the body that all cells of the body, no matter what type of cell it is, bone, nervous tissue, fascia, organ tissue, glands, etc., are all suspended or floating inside of this fluid as one fluid. So, based on the quality of this fluid, we can determine our quality of health. And it is a fascinating tale. So what is going on is that the body has these little particles of light inside of them that can be seen through a dark field microscope. So there's a difference between a light field microscope. Probably when you were in biology or chemistry class and you used a microscope, there was a light field. and you're able to see things flowing around because of the light that's shown. But in a dark field microscope, it's different. It has to do with different frequencies of light, and when like Gaston Naessens, Antoine Béchamp, Royal Raymond Rife, and others, many others, used this dark field microscope, they were able to see that there was these tiny particles of light floating around in all of nature and all throughout the human organism, and that they actually determined that these little particles of light were generating cells, and they're responsible for cell generation, digestion, elimination, function on all levels. There's 12 functions of the cell, and the microzyma, they're called microzyma, and they're what is responsible for all of this. And so in a healthy person, in abundance, we have these microzyma as little particles of light inside of us. If our interstitial fluid or our interstitial matrix, our biological terrain is in a healthy manifestation in it, meaning it's full of nutrition, all of the cells are getting the nutrients that they need, there's low toxic load, there's not external or internal toxic sources. Internal toxic sources are called systemic waste or poisons. It can happen, through the colon barrier. Fecal matter can seep back into the bloodstream. All the different cells are digesting and creating metabolic waste products and excreting waste. So every single cell is excreting waste into the interstitial fluid. The blood is connected to the interstitial fluid, the lymphatic system. So all chemicals and hard chemicals and artificial ingredients that we are consuming on a daily basis get suspended into the interstitial matrix and is touching it in some way and is making that portion of the interstitial fluid either acidic or maintaining its alkalinity, increasing its toxic load. So yeah, let me write this down. We have 4 aspects to it. 4 major components are its pH, its toxic load, sorry, that's an L, nutrition, and bioelectromagnetism. So this is our bioelectromagnetic field, and it can increase or decrease based on internal and external sources. So, strong magnetic radiation or electric radiation from electronic devices, cell phone towers, radio towers, TV towers, cell phones, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all of these, fluorescent lighting, you name it, all of these artificial sources of electric impulses have either a positive or a negative effect on our bioelectromagnetic field. And so any one of these that changes all of the others, because they're all a part of the interstitial fluid, the interstitial matrix. So if you change the pH inside of our body, that either increases or decreases our toxic load, increases or decreases our ability to transport nutrition where it's needed, and either increases or decreases the bioelectromagnetic field of the organism. So these are the 4 major components. So now we have 4 minor components. Is the person getting enough oxygen? Are you breathing deeply enough? Are you using your entire lungs, your lung structure? We have an upper, middle, and lower portion of our lungs. Are we breathing enough? Is our blood getting enough oxygen to be able to distribute that oxygen to our organs? Now remember, oxygen actually vaporizes toxins. So breathing exercises and just implementing deep breathing all day long as much as possible on a daily basis actually cleans and purifies the blood. It changes the pH, it changes the toxic load, it increases our transport of our nutrition, and it increases our bioelectromagnetism. Now, conversely, not getting enough oxygen, again, affects all of them, because all of these affect all of the others. The next one is, are we getting enough water? Of course, all of these are about quality too. So what is the quality of the oxygen we're breathing on a daily basis? What is the quality of the water that we're drinking? So if we're not drinking enough water, things start to dry out. It will increase our toxic load, which changes our pH to acidic, decreasing our ability to receive nutrients where it's needed. And nutrients, of course, looks like enzymes. We have like cell salts, vitamins, minerals, different building blocks that we get from what we consume on a daily basis, our food, what we drink, the medicines that we take, etc. So is the person getting enough water? The next minor component is the person digesting their food? So I call this complete combustion. And I actually get it from my teacher, Robert Stevens, and he got it from, I think, Dr. Stone, who is the founder of polarity therapy. So complete combustion is referring to whether or not the stomach is capable of digesting what is put inside of it to such a degree that it actually literally turns the food to ash and liberates the bio-electromagnetic nutrient packets of the food into the bloodstream or into the body. So when, let's say we consume an apple, the apple goes into the stomach, it gets completely turned to ash, and the bioelectromagnetic energies and the elemental energies that it's related to it gets liberated from the apple, and through the etheric system, the air element quality of the apple, because it grew so high up in a tree, is distributed to the heart and helps the quality of circulation and the mind to function. Of course, everything contains a little bit of all the different elements. We have like our root vegetables are mostly earth, our squashes and melons are mostly water, our grains and beans and legumes and all those different things are mostly fire, and then the nuts and the fruits that grow high up in trees are mostly air. And then how much we appreciate them, how grateful we are for them, and how much we give them the time to taste and savor them is adding the ether element to that food that we eat. So anyway, is the person able to digest the food? Because if food isn't digested all the way or digested properly, we're not going to get the nutrients. And if we don't get the nutrients, the cells start to die, which increases the acidity of the pH, which increases the toxic load, which lowers the bioelectromagnetic energy. So then the last one is the negative, positive. Is there the proper negative, positive charge around the red blood cell? And so the red blood cell should look like, this is the red blood cell, and it has all of this negative charge around it. And then it has this positive charge around it like this. And the stronger this is, the further away the red blood cells are from each other, making the blood thin and able to move. But when this field diminishes, the blood thickens very quickly. And when blood is thickened, inflammation and stagnation and blockage of blood flow through the capillary beds happens, which stops oxygen, water, nutrition from going to the organ or tissue or organ system. So all of these are very intricately linked, and they're all a part of this one fluid that's running through the whole body that all of our cells are situated in. So now, these little particles of light we were talking about before, called microzyma, are that are responsible for, the generation of cells, whatever type of cell they may be, is very, very influenced by this because they're also suspended in this interstitial matrix. So let's talk about this, because mainstream philosophy of medicine and of health completely has overlooked this over the past 180 years. And it is, natural therapeutics which has held on to this as the gold mine of health and wellness. And the reason this isn't mainstream today is because it's not profitable. And so I want you to understand, I want you to get through this cognitive dissonance of thinking that we need to listen to what the books of, the medical system say, and say, like, they're 100% right, because honestly, it's theory after theory after theory after theory that are all trying to support each other. And it's been theory after theory after theory after theory that has been put together to help the pharmaceutical company, the idea of vaccinations and surgery to thrive. And, we can get into that in the reading from the Flexner report and, the chemical industry of the 1800s, where that all kind of, they just kind of borrowed Pasteur's germ theory that we are invaded from outside, and phagocytosis, that we have these white blood cells inside of us that attack those germs. And so there's a war going on. And it's this very warlike, patriarchal, masculine view of what is going on, that we are at war with the world, when in fact, germs actually permeate all of outside of us, all throughout our whole entire body, inside of us, through this interstitial matrix. But based on the quality of this biological terrain, whether it's full of toxins, someone is eating a diet full of death, stuff that doesn't have life in it, or consuming toxic chemicals that get stuck, it actually triggers to these microzyma that the body is dying. And so what ends up happening, actually, let me just talk a little bit more about this microzyma. So these microzymas are found in stones and in plants and in trees and in animals, in the soil, in the air. And what they're doing is they're digesting toxemia. They're digesting waste materials. And so when a tree dies and it falls over, or all the leaves that fall into it, or a plant that dies in the wintertime, all of this is consumed by microzyma. Microzyma see it as a death process, and they do what's called pleomorph. And this is really important. Pleomorph. So pleomorphism actually is something to look up. Antoine Béchamp. I think it's like that. Antoine Béchamp, pleomorphism versus monomorphism. So this idea is that all of these microzyma are permeating as little particles of light everywhere throughout nature, inside of us and outside of us. And whenever it detects death and decay and degeneration, it goes to work to digest that toxemia or morbid material and break it down to its finest constituents. So when that happens in the body, it's determined or diagnosed as a disease. So someone's pH is out, they're eating an acidic diet full of toxins with not enough nutrients, and it's getting stuck somewhere in the body. Let's say the liver. The liver's tissues they're not getting enough nutrients, they're getting too much toxic load, and it's too acidic, so cells start to die, and it starts to get more acidic, and acidity kills cells. cells are a part of the toxic load, the cell waste is a part of the toxic load. It's not getting the nutrients, which is starving cells, creating more dead cells, which is increasing the pH and increasing the toxic load, and it's decreasing the bioelectromagnetic field of the liver. And so the communication between the field, the brain and the liver, and the body and the liver, is saying, man, our liver is degenerating, our liver is decaying. And so the microzyma do what is called pleomorph. And it pleomorphs into these yeasts and fungus and mold and whatever is needed to eat away the morbid materials in the liver, to digest it down enough to, it colloids these toxins. It breaks them down to their finest constituents so that the body can bring it into a channel of elimination and excrete it from the body. So microzyma have a microcycle and a macrocycle. And it is protected by what's called the protection gate. Gate of the somatid life cycle, or the microzymal life cycle. So in a healthy person, it's going through this microcycle of 3 different forms. Microzyma, spore, double spore. Microzyma, spore, double spore. Microzyma, spore, double spore. So microzyma, spore, double spore. And these are found in abundance in the blood of all healthy people. And healthy people have, a balanced alkalinity. They're alkaline, and then this, going this way, is acidic. And as we go through life, if we live a conscious, natural lifestyle in accordance with nature's laws, and we remain alkaline, we lower our toxicity, we increase our nutrition, and we increase our bioelectromagnetic field, we will maintain this health, and we will never have to worry about crossing beyond the protection gate of the somatid life cycle. But the moment we start to become stressed on a daily basis, or enervated in some way through overwork, or excesses of all kinds, we start to eat an acidic diet, or some sort of internal or external toxic load is some sort of encumbrance on our interstitial matrix, or some sort of bioelectromagnetic field disarray through electronic devices. It's also weakened by feelings of depression and sorrow and grief. And actually, it's been stated that, it's been proven scientifically that just 5 minutes of feeling depressed dramatically increases the acidic nature of our saliva. So just feeling stressed or anxious, or that stress impulse that's emanating out of our nervous system into our interstitial fluid, interstitial matrix, is increasing its acidity. And if that person were to spit into a cup and the acidity or the pH tested, after 5 minutes of being stressed, the acidity of their saliva will have increased. So anyway, living against nature's laws, being conditioned mentally and emotionally, and not feeling that tranquility and that peace and open-mindedness and uninhibited emotional expression, when it's all built up inside of us, and we're angry and we're grieving and we're stressed and we're anxious, and we're not eating right, and we're not getting the nutrients that we need, our biological terrain becomes compromised, and this dissolves this hormone inside of our body. We have this hormone inside of us called trephone, and trephone is the inhibitor that stops the microzyma from pleomorphing beyond the protection gate. So the moment we go acidic and these get thrown out of balance, this hormone starts to dissolve and decay. And as it starts to dissolve and decay, there's no longer a protection gate protecting the microzyma from staying in an alkaline, healthy state. It starts to pleomorph beyond its microcycle into a 16-phase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So it goes into the 16-phase cycle of mutating into different forms to try and eat away that morbid material, to try and bring us back into balance. It's this natural system we have to keep us in homeostasis. So these little particles of light will change into yeast. Let's see. Yeast, bacteria, fungus, mold, virus, cancer. So cancer cells, viruses, mold, fungus, bacteria, yeast, also parasites. And of course, all of these have their different formations. They all have their slight variances. There's different viruses that vary, different cancers that vary, different molds that vary, fungus, bacteria, yeast, all of them vary. But there's 16 main ones. Royal Rife detected 10 of them, 10 different germs, and they all have these different frequencies that he would use his Rife beam ray to make them dissolve. Anyway, when our biological terrain becomes compromised and the hormone that is the protection gate of this microzyma life cycle, it breaks beyond that barrier, breaks beyond that protection gate. Once we become more acidic, once we fall out of line with the laws of nature, and yeast, bacteria, fungus, mold, viruses, or cancer starts to grow and proliferate in in our system. And what it's doing is it's trying to digest and break down all of the toxins and excrete it through the organs of elimination, which brings me to the acute healing crisis. So up here, we have health, right? We have health up here. We want to be in this microcycle. And down here we have death, okay, which is something we don't want, especially from degenerative or chronic diseases. So right here, right there, right at that protection gate, we have acute healing. Acute healing. The acute healing crisis. Just below it, we have like the subacute phase. Then we have like chronic right here. And then we have degenerative. And the worse off the dirtier and more full of toxins, dead cells, the more acidic it is, the less nutrients it gets, and the lower the bioelectromagnetic frequency, the more degenerative our state, the more it goes into molds and viruses and cancers. But when we go on a cleansing diet, or we adopt a conscious natural lifestyle, and we begin to use natural remedies and natural therapies to help the body rid itself of these toxins, to clean that interstitial fluid, we go through the acute healing crisis, and we heal on a physical, energetic, astral, and mental level. All of these are linked together, and they start expressing themselves out of the body via symptoms. We express symptoms through bowel disturbances, or skin eruptions, or headaches, or constipation, or vomiting, or whatever it is. We have these acute symptoms, and if we utilize nature's remedies and nature's therapies to help assist us, we can clean this biological terrain and maintain health. maintain health. But through our lifestyle, it is through our lifestyle alone that we subject ourselves to the wrong diet, the wrong way of living, constricting clothing, maybe immoral actions that make us feel, shameful or having long-standing negative effects on our nervous system, or maybe we have, we are promiscuous in our sexual life, or maybe we are putting ourselves in physical situations that have, hard chemicals there that we're breathing in, or we're getting on our skin, or breathing through the air. So whatever way through our lifestyle that we are not living in accordance with nature, breathing healthy oxygen, getting fresh, clean water, spring water is best, being able to digest our food, keeping our bioelectromagnetic field strong, getting the nutrition we need, staying away from our toxicity in food, inorganic, genetically modified foods, food additives, dead foods like frozen foods and canned foods with low bioelectromagnetic life force, or of course, consuming things that through the digestive process create acidity. So all of these things affect our bioelectromagnetic field, our biological terrain, and which will dissolve those inhibitors, which will send us through this cycle. And it's not until we go through an acute healing crisis to clean this up are we going to see a change. So this is putting all of what we've gone through in the philosophy all together, connecting it all as one thing. So health is of a spiritual basis. Having a clean and clear mind and a clean and clear heart, and being able to express our emotions and our energy to flow, ensures that we have strong, vital, and alive organs and, brain, and we're able to communicate properly, and we're able to connect with our soul, and our consciousness is strong, and our bioelectromagnetic field is strong, and we're able to perceive nature as it is, and people as they are, and communicate and circulate and digest and generate and eliminate all of the things that need to be eliminated or generated or digested or circulated or communicated. It's all a part of one system. It's all one system. And it is the conscious natural lifestyle. So thank you so much, my luminaries. I want you to ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. Go through the materials, do the reading. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. I'd be happy to answer them. And you have a wonderful evening or day or morning or whatever time it is for you. And I encourage you to stay luminous and shine your light for others.